I'm Gavin. So I thought we'd take a look at quite interesting something. It's something most people who use cameras have come across at some point, especially people using modern digital cameras, and that's adapters and speed boosters. Now, the adapters are, there's dumb adapters, there's intelligent adapters, and then there's speed boosters. So what are they? Well, basically, there's a preset distance on every camera system from the film plane, back in the film days, or the sensor plane, to the front of where we put the lens in, or the back of the lens. And that distance is called the focus flange distance, FFD, I believe, flange focus distance. And that distance, basically, depending on how small it is, allows you to adapt other lenses to it. So there's a great link, and I'll put this in the description on Wikipedia, and it shows you these distances. And it means that you sort of see now that mirrorless cameras, because the flange distance is so short, you can adapt pretty much anything onto them. But back in the day, on the older camera systems, and even on the older digital SLRs, there's a certain distance you can't put a lens onto it. So you couldn't put a Nikon onto an EF. But now with the Nikon Z mount, which is basically mirrorless, a mirrorless system, you can pretty much mount anything onto it. I think the Nikon Z mount is the shortest flange distance of the sort of big not SLRs, big mirrorless cameras. Anyway, so I'll show you something. So they come in all shapes and sizes, and you can buy them there, sort of range in price. You can convert most things to most things now. So this one here, if it goes into focus, will it go into focus? This one here is a Gobe, and it's a Gobe filter, and it's EOS to M43. So basically, you could put an micro four thirds camera on the back, like a GH5, and on the front, you can put a EF lens, a Canon EF lens. This is a dumb adapter, so there's no transmission of aperture information, or you can't use autofocus. But in some situations, you may need it. I'll show you another one. What have we got down here? Okay, so this is M42, which is an old vintage lens, and this is where you start to see a lot of adapters when you start to put vintage lenses onto cameras. This is an M42, which is an old lens mount, I think Pentax and a couple of the others had them, to EOS. So this is basically to an EF mount. And you can see hold it there, see if you can see it. Oh, my face is in focus. You can sort of see it, it's super thin, adapts, and these distances vary greatly. I mean, so, the big thing these days is, you want to get those vintage lenses onto your digital SLR. So this is a Contact RX, old Contact camera, and Contact cameras had the amazing Zeiss lenses on. This is a Zeiss 35, a Contact Zeiss. And so what you would do, you get an adapter, you could still shoot these things, but you get the adapter for the 35, you've got a Zeiss lens you can put onto an EF mount. And, there's a huge sort of thing where people have declicked these. What that means is, at the moment, this one's declicked. Oh, no, it's not. So declicking, if you, on a cinema lens, normally when you change the aperture ring, you can just smoothly move it round. So you can change the aperture. On a photography camera, a photography lens, you basically, as you move around the aperture from like 2.8 to 4, you feel it click. And then there's a ball bearing that's basically popping up in each of these little slots. So what's quite popular with these CY mount Zeiss lenses is people declick them so they get that smooth roll round, so they become more cinematic lenses, or as they call them. Anyway, so there you go. So there's like tons of adaptation types. I haven't got any more here. I've got boxes and I couldn't find it. But you can pretty much adapt most lenses to most. Mirrorless cameras are amazing because you can put most lenses onto mirrorless cameras. And go for PL mount, everything, all the huge lenses. But obviously, when you're using digital SLRs, you're a bit different. There's only certain things you can adapt, like Pentax mount. You can't really adapt anything onto a Pentax K mount, but you can adapt a few things onto EF mount, etc., etc. But then there's the next part of this. There's the adapters, which I've just spoke about, where you can sort of like put an old lens or another lens onto your system. But then there's the sort of next evolution of these adapters, where they transmit the aperture information, and you can control it from the camera. They also control the autofocus information, so that goes through. And then they become a thing called a speed booster, where they put a piece of glass in, And this piece of glass gathers more light and actually increases the available light in the sensor, so it gives it like another stop of information. This is a Blackmagic 4K camera, and you can see here there's a, if it goes into focus, just, oh, is it going to go in focus? I don't think it is. It's trying to track my face. But anyway, there's an adapter. This is a Viltrox EF-M2.71. So that's a speed booster. And what a speed booster does, it not only gathers extra light, so it gives you more hit stop, but it also widens your field of view. So the Blackmagic 4K is a micro four thirds camera, and micro four thirds, wonderful format. However, it's hugely problematic because it gives you like a crop factor. How did it explain it? So it's easy. Your field of view shrinks because of the sensor size, and this is talked about as a crop factor. So a micro four thirds is about 2. So if you put a 50mm lens on a micro four thirds camera, it basically becomes nearly 100mm lens. Your field of view becomes what you'd see through 100mm. So widening the field of view on an MF, what's called micro four thirds camera, is a great thing to do, because you need really, really wide lenses. I think like a 12mm would be a 24 on micro four thirds. Do you see what I mean? So it gets really tricky when you get lower down. An 8mm is a 16, where on EF mount you can have a full frame 16mm, and it's much easier to get hold of them. It's difficult to get some of those focal lengths, although the manufacturers have made them. Anyway, so on this, what it basically gives you the extra stop of light, and then it's got the times, it's 0.71 times. So, okay, then it gets quite tricky. So you have to work out, because this is now an EF, so this is micro four thirds to EF. EF has a crop factor of, it's close to, what is it, 1.6, 1.4, and then you times it by the amount on here, and it gives you its field of view. I can't do the maths now, but I mean, there's calculators you can buy on your phone that will give you the correct sort of thing. So, okay, so this is, hang on, so it's micro four thirds, it's times 2, times, where's my phone? Times 2 times 0.71 will give you an equivalent crop factor of like 1.5 or 1.6. So then it gives you the EF, what looks like EF, so it widens your view out. Now you can do more than that. So imagine you had an EF mount that has a crop factor of like 1.6, I think it is, on an EF mount, and you want to get it to full frame. Now that's exactly what they've done for Canon. So the camera that we're shooting on now is a C70, and they made an amazing speed booster for the C70, which is a Super 35 camera, so 1.6. So your field of view is what you see through Super 35. They put a speed booster, which not only gives it the stop of light, but also widens its view out. So what you're seeing now is the equivalent of full frame. So that's a really smart move. So you've got your Super 35, which is a very cinematic sort of crop factor as such. Most films were shot on Super 35 or 35mm. And now they've given you the new modern full frame sort of look that people are going for. So there you go. You've got your, just to summarize, you've got your standard metal adapters to take lenses between different bodies. You've then got sort of like the dumb adapters, well, not the dumb, cleverer adapters that can transmit the information for focus and stuff like that. And then you've got the speed boosters. And the speed boosters allow you to give you much more flexibility with cameras by giving you extra light, widening the field of view, and things like that. So, I mean, I'll put some links down to different types of speed boosters and things like that to have a look at. But they're incredibly useful, and they can breathe an extra bit of life into your camera. I mean, I've got a GH5S, and if you put a speed booster in front of the GH5S, which is micro four thirds, we've now got the equivalent of looking through an EF or Super 35 camera. So it gives it a bit of a different look. You've got more lenses to play with. There are downsides to it because maybe the autofocus won't track as much, and things like that. I think I put an RF adapter. That's because this is because the C70's RF mount. I put an RF adapter on a Komodo, and we were trying to play. I know the autofocus isn't perfect on the Komodos yet, but it was really sluggish. So sometimes it depends. You don't get the best results. I mean, there's lots of YouTube videos about adapters and how they work and what results you get. But I thought I'd just do a big general talk about them because they're incredibly useful things, and you're bound to come across them if you shoot with a camera. Anyway, that's all I have for you. Thanks for watching.